Hello, guys. Bob here for Tuesday Night Live. Thank you for dropping by and hanging out with us for a while. We certainly do appreciate you sticking with us. Speaking of hanging out, if you hung out on Facebook for very long, you will see posts asking about Santa boots. With limited suppliers in the traditional Santa-style boots, as well as the character toe, for those of you who like that look and are looking for comfort, longevity, and custom fit at a fair price, tonight's guest has it all. 4 generations of boot makers and has a history rich in the traditions of the Western boot industry. The opening of tonight's show is brought to you by North Pole Cornerstones, a new, unique, and entertaining 4-day educational experience. This is Tuesday Night Live. Now let's move along and introduce my co-host, the one, the only, Santa Claus Hall of Fame inductee and all-round man of many faces and hats. Most know him by just one name and no doubt can be spotted a mile away. I present Spangle, the man that always has an angle.
Hey, I think they spot me a mile away from that glare of the sun off the top of my head, maybe, huh?
Well, you know,
hello, everybody. Hello.
Maybe you ought to put something on there to keep that sheen down a little bit.
Well, she actually puts a little something on there and makes it shine in the morning. Up it up a little.
Exactly. So how's your week been going so far?
Man, it's going good. Here in my little town, we got a new chief of police, so I guess I stereotyped him today. I went and delivered donuts to the police station, and we've been out. We leave our Christmas lights on all year long. They're LEDs, but I think some of the wires just getting old and being out there in the sun. So we was out replacing some Christmas lights and stuff like that. And yes, my tree is up here and in my house all year as well.
That's pretty cool. So at this point, I want to say hello to Angela Mack over in the corner.
Hello, Angela!
To everyone. There she is.
Well, wow, she was gone quick.
Yeah, her mama was in the background, so she cut away. So be sure and catch our past shows or watch our weekly live shows on YouTube at the Tuesday Night Live Show 1225. We recently got a notification from Facebook that they have quit housing our videos after 30 days. So everything that's on the Facebook group from years past is still there, but everything new going forward is only going to be up for like 30 days before they delete them. So if you want to go back and catch a show that's older than 30 days from the present time you're wanting to look at it, go over to YouTube and catch it over there.
You know, I knew they did that to the lives, but, you know, you got to understand, I guess, you know, everything takes space and it takes, you know, for them to power their system.
Can you imagine how big their server bank is and how much it, you know, just from a daily usage, no less a yearly or, you know, year after year after year. So anyway, that's the situation we find ourselves in. So that just means everybody will have to push over to YouTube more often.
You know, he's going through a bunch of court issues right now.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's just trying to delete stuff for court.
I don't know. Who knows? Never know about what's going on there, right? So, all right, I guess, you know, we ought to talk about the school coming up. The next one in line is the School of Santa's 2025. We're not too far away. I mean,
we are really, really close. And we got Noel working on the website. And if you haven't been to the website, check it out. I'm just blown away at how good the website is. Schoolofsantas.com. And
N-O-E with no L. Noel, she's quite the talented help, and the website is looking fantastic. I went over last night. Spangle asked me if I'd been over in a few days. I had not. Must be working on anything daily because every time I go over there, there's something new. So if you haven't got a chance to go over, check out the School of Santas.
93 days till then.
93 days. Well, The first half of the Tuesday Night Live Show trivia is brought to you by School of Santa's 2025, hosted by, yes, sir, that shiny-headed man right there, Spangle, in picturesque Ozark Mountains, Branson, Missouri, where fun and education meet.
Read about it reporting for TNL Chatterbox News. School of Santa's 2025 will be held July 17th through the 20th in beautiful, picturesque Branson, Missouri, right in the heart of the Ozark Mountains. If you've been before, then you know all about the 4 days of festivities that School of Santa's is best known for. Each year, the host facility, Americ Inn by Wyndham, Branson, and Conference Center, is home to over 100 clauses for the weekend and is centrally located in the middle of everything Branson. If you have never attended SOS, what are you waiting for? You are missing out on one of the Claus community's premier educational opportunities. For more information on price and to ensure your place at the next School of Santa's, contact Tanya Lay at Branson Ticket and travel today at 800-432-4202. Again, that's 800-432-4202 and get registered today. I'm Read About It reporting. Now back over to you guys in the TNL studio.
Now, there is a couple scholarship opportunities still out there. I know, of course, there's one done right here on the Tuesday Night Live show. And then there's also one for Santa that does special needs or sign language for the children. And I believe if you scroll down on my page a little ways, on my Facebook page, you'll see the rules on that one. So there's opportunities out there, people. Just get yourself going there. Anyways, let's talk about some boot trivia.
You want to remind folks that there's no copy and paste, that we're only looking for specific, not a whole paragraph.
Yeah, didn't I hear somebody say they copied and pasted just a little while ago?
I think somebody but that's okay. That wasn't for the trivia, so we're good.
Right, okay. The shaft, which is the tube that rises from the base and covers the leg, was designed to prevent injuries from what? There's two major answers that we are looking for. You know that long, skinny part? Well, I guess that long, fat part. Some of us are Santas. Hey, but anyways, that shaft, which is the tube that rises from the base and covers the leg, was designed to prevent injuries from what? Two major answers we're looking for. So get with it, folks.
Remember, your name goes in the hat for our School of Santas and
North Pole Cornerstones.
Pole Cornerstones. In
Two separate drawings at two separate times.
That's correct. Absolutely.
All right.
Hey, are you ready to move along?
Yeah. All right. Tonight we also have the other guy that you sometimes see hanging out with Bob and I, but mostly Bob, because he is one that signs him out of the facility and is responsible for him in public. And boy, don't we know that. Bob, you do know you're taking quite the chance, don't you?
Yeah, but thanks to you for coming up with the award-winning StuffForSanta.com Super Duper S1000 Humane Shock Collar, I'm able to keep him in check and out of trouble. But he does still have a fetish for fire hydrants and bright-colored socks.
All right. Hey, I'm just glad your name is on the release form, not mine. Everyone, let's say hello to the Mad Dog Scott Saratine, Santa Scott.
Oh, where's your foot? Where's your foot? I need your sock. Hey, everybody. How are you, Bob? How are you, Spangle? Good to see you.
We are. Hey, just call me the copy and paste guy. Spangle's done ratted me out.
But we'll leave the line I was going to say was don't be, but let's just leave that alone tonight.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, well, it's good to be here, and I'm glad to see everybody. So thanks for joining us. Man, you guys really know how to make a bud feel special. Thanks for the therapy session. The check's in the mail.
All right. We get money coming for that one.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Don't hold your breath, Spangle.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the night show. Boots are one of the first things many of us upgrade or purchase when entering the Claus business. It rounds out the professional look and is also a trademark of Santa. A lot of us start with a set of those $60 something starter boots, but within a season or two, we're then searching for that quality and sustainability. Search no more, because tonight's featured guests have all the answers. Please welcome Joey and Priscilla Sanchez of CABOOTS, located in El Paso, Texas.
How's everybody tonight?
You're great. Hey,
Welcome.
good to have you here. Good to see you. And
Hey, guys.
Priscilla, you're looking just as beautiful as ever, as I remembered from Gatlinburg.
Thank you. So nice to hear.
Where's
He's
my
looking-
shot collar
he's
button?
looking
at?
for a
My shot
chip.
collar button. I need to get it. Where's it? Oh, here it is. I got it. I'm ready to hit him if he gets out of line, Priscilla.
Hello, Joey. Hello, Priscilla. Let's
Hi, guys.
get going and start off with a question. Tell us about your family's history in the 4th generation bootmaker and who it all was started with. Great grandfather Yides Sonoro. I'm going to make that wrong. Sorry. 1930ish. And how the name Champion came about.
Well, let's see. So my great grandfather emigrated to the United States back in the 20s, and he was a shoe repair guy, and he had a job at Fort Bliss doing shoe repair, and alongside Tony Lama and all those other people. And so he started making custom boots. Excuse me. The name came along. Champion. One of his sons was a champion wrestler in El Paso. And so, everybody speaks Spanish in El Paso. So they go, vamos a ver el champion, vamos a ver el champion. It kind of stuck. It was champion shoe repair, and they started making custom boots. And then my dad, he graduated from Texas Western, which is called UTEP now. And he started making subcontracting for Justin, Nocona, all the big boot companies. And he, then my mom started doing custom boots. So as a kid, I, hung out with my mom, and I'd hung out in boot factory with my dad. And so Priscilla and I started doing our business back in the late 70s, early 80s. I guess early 80s, because the late 70s would be, I was still a kid. Yeah. We started making custom boots, and we'd go to LA and sell boots to rock stars and stuff like that. Of course, along the way, we've had some fun little adventures with Star Wars characters and Civil War reenactors and Pirates of the Caribbean. We made all the boots for Pirates of the Caribbean movies and for the theme parks and stuff like that. And we've had a bunch of that. And then somebody called us. I forgot who it was. It was probably Bob in Dallas. And he said, "Hey, make cowboy boots." And he probably bought a pair of cowboy boots from us already. So why don't you make me some Santa Claus boots? There's not really a lot of options out there. Why don't you guys make a good Santa Claus boots so people have something worthy to wear? We made him his first pair. And since then, I guess that's probably been about, 10, 15 years ago. And we've made a fair amount of Santa Claus boots for prominent Santas across the United States.
So when did the name change?
Oh, a champion. Priscilla and I started our boot company, and it was just kind of a joke. We're like, do you have a champion attitude? So it became Champion Attitude Boots. And then our website, our first website was Attitude Boots. And I just got about a dozen phone calls from customers saying, "I think your website's down." And it turns out nobody knows how to spell attitude. So we just changed it to CABOOTS and contracted it. So it's Champion Attitude Boots, what it became.
Everybody's got an attitude, but just don't know how to spell it.
That's right. They got attitude.
Yeah. Joey as well. He's also a musician. So when we were doing these boots for a lot of the stylists, we brought back a lot of the vintage styles coming out of the 70s into the 80s. The urban cowboy era, ropers and kind of just stitched cowhide boots was, production boots, factory boots were all the rage. And when we decided to get into it, him being a musician, we added studs and some flair and some buckles and straps and things like that, because, being a performer himself, we understood that market out there, that people want boots to be part of their wardrobe and performance. And because what we do is an authentic product, it's authentic footwear, it's not costume. So we kind of blended the two and decided that, having an attitude was a good thing. So we were kids, early 20s. So we kind of combined it. We did our part of the business, our entity was separate from the family, but the tradition is over 100 years old.
Yeah. But what's funny about like the whole customizing things for rock stars, Santa Clauses are just a different type of rock star, because every single Santa, well, not every single Santa, but for the most part, every Santa boot we sell is customized in a different way. There's very few people that just say, just give it to me like that. Maybe it's their first, maybe that'd be their first, it's a starter Santa, I don't know. But for the most part, everybody kind of has a different idea of what they want their Santa Claus suit to look like, and Santa boot to do it. And we've even done that boot for the Santa Claus with Tim Allen, where it's like a lace up boot. And that I can't remember the customer's name, but he had all the jingles on it, the little bells all the way around it. So we're pretty open to doing a lot of different things. You're not stuck to what we get.
Do you do embroidery on the boots?
Sure. Yeah. We have a bunch of them. Like I have some examples here, sir, of like there's a basic little snowflake, and that's like a computer stitch one, or we can do hand stitched stuff. Let me find one out here. I kind of like the hand stitched stuff, but it doesn't show as much. But when we first started, we were just kind of doing more of a hand stitched. I don't know if you can see that with light here, but, and then we kind of had graduated to more designs, and you can get more ornate with it. And people, you can actually just obviously send us a picture, and we can create a cuff for that. And then we'll have, sometimes they'll do it on the foot part. They'll have designs down here in this area.
Well, I'll tell you what, Joey, let's go ahead and run the video that we got. It shows some of those, and you get a better look, I think, from the video.
Sure. Ta-da!
Now, I saw that one where you was rocking your long hair back in the day, Joey.
Yeah, God has a sense of humor.
Well, Joey, that's the first time you've seen that, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks cool. I dig it. Priscilla was saying, we need to copy that.
I'll send it to you. Now, real quick, I want to mention that the Santa in the swing, that was probably John Travolta, correct?
You know what? I should have done my research.
I'm pretty sure it was.
That's Mall of America's Santa.
We had Santa Mitchell Allen in one picture and Santa Felix Estridge in the other. They're both here in Dallas with me. So,
yeah, Felix Estridge. Mm-hmm. Yep. I think Felix was Estridge was the first one to buy Santa boots, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But
it's kind of like 4 or 5 different pair. I do know that. He and I have talked about your boots for a long time, and he's proud of them. He actually told me after the first pair he didn't need any more, but then he got to think, well, I need a brown pair, and I need one with a little longer shank and more of a cuff. And so, like I said, I know he's got 3 or 4 pair of your boots. So,
yeah, it's not, it's fun, and it's when we went to that convention, it was just, when you sell one at a time, and you don't realize, like, over time we probably sold 100 pairs more. I don't know, and you go to the convention, you don't realize the need for it. How many Santas there are actually out there? Even that convention was 500 people, but somebody told me there's 10,000 Santas in America.
And I was blown away by the beautiful, the wardrobe, and the detail, and just the professionalism of what y'all do. And it's just nice to be a part of that and to be able to participate to help create that individuality, because each of you all have your own personalities that you impart into your Santa, and it's fabulous. And we were happy. We were to be a part of all that. That was awesome.
That was really fun.
We're looking forward to doing more.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, you said that you were going to do your best to come to North Pole Cornerstones in January of next year or February of next year, one of the two.
We'll definitely be at that one. Yeah. I wish we'd gone this year. Estridge has been telling us about that forever, but it takes a while for us to like.
For it to sink in.
Yeah.
Well, our kids are gone now, so
Yeah.
we can hit the road.
Well, he's empty nesters.
But no, and you got, and I'll tell our audience, I have a pair of boots coming from Joey and Priscilla, so I'm excited to see those when they decide that they feel like that I'm worthy of them.
You're wearing me.
Well, we worked on some stuff over this the last few days, and I know that like a lot of people were talking about the spangled toe, and I mean we can do a wider toe, but this kind of does our first version of the pop-up, and we can actually modify it more. And I was going to ask for feedback on it to see, if that's enough of a pop-up, or if you guys really actually want it wider. But a lot of feedback I got at the show was that people can't drive with it. So
Did I hear him right? What he described that toe?
Yeah, because you're a clown.
They sure did.
Because you're a clown. It's the spangled toe now.
Yeah. That's spear. You're right. But okay. Because I don't know a lot about the community yet, but I think Spangle used to rep for spears, right?
I did.
Okay. So anyway, people were obviously talking about that boot a lot and the toe. And so I talked with my production staff, and we like I said, that's the first version of it. And we just need more feedback from you guys. And then obviously everybody wanted zippers. So we've done zippers forever, but we did make samples with zippers. And then give me that with this on the floor, please. And then we did another little square toe, which some people were asking for square toes. We don't sell a lot of square toes in it. We haven't had a lot of requests for them. For the most part, the toe that we get is that basic kind of round rope toe.
That's the one that I saw for the first time. I think I saw someone. I think Felix may have a pair, or maybe it's Mitchell. I don't remember. One of them's got a pair of the more pointed toe, and I really like that look because here in Texas, of course, being a Texan, it's cowboy capital pretty much. And for me at my mall, they actually promoted for the first 2 weeks this last year, Cowboy Santa, and they had me on a Western shirt with red suspenders and a big red felt hat that I have. That they gave me a cheapy one, but I ended up wearing my nice one that I had. But those boots will fit right in.
One thing I think is interesting is we actually over engineer our boots for a 6-week period a year or whatever, 10-week period, whatever we use it for. I mean, it's really an everyday boot, and maybe there's a way we can just make them so the cuffs aren't on there all the time, and you can just use it as an everyday boot. So the investment in it isn't just like, well, I'm just buying it for Santa. You can use it every single day of your life, and especially since it's an all leather boot, it lets you breathe. The more you wear it, the more comfortable it gets. It's better than any of the footwear you're going to find in the stores. Yeah, it's a motorcycle boot, really. We could make it in an oil tan leather where it's more of a rugged boot, and it would be multi-function boot.
Maybe the cuff can be Velcroed or something onto the inside of the boot shaft.
Yeah. I know I've heard of some people that they'll put it inside, they'll flip it inside sometimes when they're not, because they're putting different cuffs on it. And I don't. Somebody was talking to me about a year or so about that they do that, and they kind of use it as a multifunction Santa boot. But like I said, since we're putting neoprene soles on them anyway, and it's an oil resistant sole, and we've made a lot of harness style motorcycle boots for people that do ride, and that's what that sole was really made for. We use it for the Santas because walking parades and to kind of give you grip and stuff like that. So it's kind of a safety issue, and plus it gives you a little bit of cushion walking with the neoprene sole as opposed to a leather sole. But like I said, it can be an everyday boot. It doesn't have to. You don't have to just like, well, I'm just buying for Santa Claus, So that's just one thing to take in consideration if you're ordering a pair of boots. Like, oh yeah, I can wear this.
Talk them into buying 2 different pairs.
There you go.
Awesome.
And another thing about an all leather boot versus those plastic boots that you buy off the shelves, or you know, pretty much all the footwear that's on.
Costume.
But even like most footwear nowadays, even if they say it's all leather, that means a portion of it's leather. You know, the lining is synthetic, or the insoles are synthetic, or they use pig lining. Pig lining doesn't breathe the same way that calf lining does. So a calf line boot with a leather insole, when you first get it, you're gonna be like, oh, it's not quite as comfortable because it's a stiffer sole rather as opposed to a cushion insole. But those cushion insoles don't breathe and they break down over time and they just harden up anyway. So if you have a boot that has a fixed cushion insole in it, it's just going to harden up over time. It's going to be less comfortable. Whereas a leather sole with a natural perspiration from your foot is going to make an impression of your foot. It allows the moisture to the pores, natural pores, let that moisture escape. So I always talk about, like, you know, we have toxins in our body that escape through our sweat, right? And your feet obviously do that a lot. And so if you're walking around with a cushion insole that has all your old sweat in it, you're basically walking around your old in toxins. You know what I mean? You know, I'm not a doctor, so I ain't no scientist, but it's just a thought pattern. Whereas when you take off an all leather boot, the leather insole and calf leather line, no pig lining, no synthetic in it. You take that boot off, it could be the hottest day, 110 walking around. You take it off, your feet are pretty they're not sweaty like a pair of tennis shoes. You know, they're dry. And in summertime, I don't really wear a lot of tennis shoes. I wear my boots more in the summertime than in wintertime because my feet get so hot in the summertime, but in cowboy boots, they just don't. You know, my feet get cold in the wintertime, so that's why I wear my boots less in the winter than I do.
So if you were to lay that hide on the table, how long would it take you from start to finish to make a pair of boots?
I mean, sometimes we've had like movie productions call and they say, you know, we got an actor coming in tomorrow. Can you have it? And we probably in about a day or two we'll turn it around. We can, but it doesn't let the leather cure when or you're lasting and everything with it. So right now our production time is about 10 weeks. But if from start to finish, it probably gets out in about 10 days.
Nice.
Because you have to, you wet a boot 3 or 4 times in production. When you cut it, you pull it over the last, and you know, different portions of the work. So you have to let it set and dry for at least a day or so properly. And really, like those old timey boot makers from way back when, that they would let a boot sit on last for about a month or two just to let that leather cure all around it. Nowadays, customers don't have that kind of patience. You know, they're like, they want it pretty quick. So
now, how are you forming it over there? Is it just by wetting it and letting it dry, or are you hammering it, or?
Yeah, I mean, so you have all your components and you pull your components over a last. I got a last over here. Let me get it.
Yeah, they take you know, they're tools that are kind of like a flathead plier almost, and they will stretch the leather over the last and then hammer them in and go all the way around, and you know, they'll keep stretching. And the last we build depending on, you know, the tracings and the measurement of the person's foot. So we actually build the boot to your fit.
So there's a boot last. So the leather outsole, the insole goes here, and then the leather gets pulled over to the insole, and then a welt stitch, it's called Goodyear welting, stitches into the insole in the top portion, and then the outsole will stitch to that. So it's a Goodyear welted boot. And I mean, it's basically last. I guess I could have had everything in every step.
Many years ago in my previous life, I worked in a shoe factory.
Yeah.
Yep. And we did tennis shoes, and we'd put the tennis shoe over that, and then we'd have to pull strings, and that would bring that around, and then we'd flip it and it'd go into the mold for the sole.
Yeah, it's similar. We just do more by hand.
Well,
Right.
I mean, we can do, if your guys are interested in it, like on another show, I'll do it from the factory, and I'll have a couple of bootmakers there, and we can, you know, actually go draw the process of it.
That would be interesting.
But Joey, I was going to tell you is my boots you're making me, we're going to have to make them a lot taller with Spangle stories.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of stories, I want to kind of get back to the history of the company. Being fourth generation, Joey, I know Spangle had mentioned your great grandfather. I don't know that we got the name correct. It's Ildefonso, is that correct?
Ildefonso.
Ildefonso. Okay. And then, of course, your grandfather's name was Jose Lucas. And Kuka was your grandmother?
Kuka.
Okay.
Her
Now,
real name was
they expanded the business to include Western clothing, pioneering the repair while you wait concept. Do you guys still do any Western clothing or strictly?
No, we just Priscilla and I kind of just do custom boots and footwear and stuff like that.
Adding it, but add it to the list.
I got enough headaches. I got enough headaches. I mean, we're like, I jokingly say we're semi-retired. We're not retired, but I think we're just really comfortable with the pace we got. And I mean, everybody all wants a little bit more business, but for the kind of quality we create, it's just hard. It's hard to do that on a bigger scale. There's other boot companies out there that they think they're going to take on the world and try and do it, and they have to start cutting corners in order to get that amount of production out. And I mean, you just go to any Western store nowadays and see the junk they have on there. I mean, those companies wanted to grow and be big, but it's an abomination is what it is. I tell you, abomination.
We have a big Western store here in our town.
Yeah. I mean, half of the just simple things in boots, there's a thing called a calzador that goes in the heel on the inside of a boot. And it's just a little piece of leather. It kind of domes, and there's a purpose to it because it helps your heel slip in and out. Most cowboy boots don't even have that anymore, and it helps to hold the foot. And then the leather heel counters. People are using elastic or whatever, and even like cushion insoles. But you can't rebuild those boots because it's not a true Goodyear welt. And a lot of these boots, it looks like it's a stitched boot. It's not. It's a glued on production heat attachment. You just go to a Western store. I do anyway. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Do they just put the stitching in the sole before they do that?
Yeah, it's just molded into the sole. Yeah, it's not a true.
All right. Well, in the late '60s, your father Jose Luis, aka Chaco, graduated from Texas Western, and since he was the only bootmaker in El Paso with a college degree, soon obtained large contracts for other boot companies. Joe Sanchez, the third generation, along with his wife Norma, helped to create El Paso's great image of El Paso on the cowboy boot capital of the world. Pick it up from there and tell us how he helped build a lot of the well-known brands.
Well, he graduated from Texas Western, and he's this kid out of college, and him and a friend decided to go talk to John Justin in Fort Worth, Texas. And they were just going to sell him components, and components are like the top stitching, It was before computer stitching, all this stuff nowadays. And so they went and they got a meeting with them, and John Justin called the head of production in here, and he goes, "Hey, I want you to bring one of those pieces of junks," but he didn't say it like that. "I want you to bring one of those pieces of junk in here, so show this guy what we're making here." And then John Connolly was in on that meeting. He was the mayor of, was he the mayor at the time?
The governor.
Was he the governor?
Governor,
at the time. Anyway, so they decided to move the factory here to El Paso. My dad ran that. And then after that, I remember when I was a teenager, I remember Nocona boots. I was young, so I did the packing and all that other stuff, but we'd send, thousands of pairs a week. So in that, and then also Tony Lama was here at the time. There was a lot of migration of skilled boot makers coming across the border every day to make boots in El Paso, thousands of them. And then you had other boot factories that started appearing.
Yeah. Settle program, and basically had a lot of imported the craftsmen, because that's where the quality and the craftsmen and the expertise was. So a lot of the they had contracts, they gave them citizenship. I mean, it was a big deal. In 2019, I believe it was, the Texas Historical Commission gave us a Texas Treasure Award for our contribution to the state. And his father and his mother, yeah, thank you. It felt good. I mean, it's a family legacy, and we're very proud of it. And his mom, they were doing consulting and contract work for Acme and Dan Post and Nocona and Justin and a lot of those companies. They were doing tens of thousands of pairs a month. exporting them throughout the country and worldwide. So
Yeah, I grew up in boot factories when I was a kid. Parents took us to work, and so I'd kind of just be running around the factory and stuff. And then in latter years, they opened a store on I-10, a retail store. My mom ran that end of it, and I just kind of had a knack for talking to people and telling bad jokes, and it just worked. So that's. And so, there was a time in my life I jokingly called myself the prodigal boot maker because I, constantly denied it in my life. Like, I don't want to sell boots. I don't want to sell boots. And just every opportunity, every door that ever swung open in my life was through boots. Or if there was an opportunity, somebody's like, oh yeah, I heard you own a boot company, or your parents do. Can you make me a pair of boots? It just, it just followed us. So.
Scott, you want to pick it up from there and talk about how
I think you kind of answered part of that. Now we'll go ahead and answer it. Ask it. During the 70s, your parents opened the retail store at I-10 in El Paso, on I-10 in El Paso. It was a great time for the boot business thanks to John Travolta and Bum Phillips, patchwork cowboy boots. For those that didn't know, Bum Phillips was the Houston Oilers coach for you non-Texans out there. But I'm an Okie, so I happen to know that too. But anyhow, this would lead to Priscilla reintroducing classic patterns and inlays. Tell us that part of the story.
Yeah, so you're right. Urban Cowboy was huge, and there were ropers, and we had. I kind of was my background, going back to high school, of course, but was in theater. It was in dance. It was in wardrobe, and Joey being a performer and his dream of singing, and he loved to be on stage. And so we just kind of put our ideas together, looking back through, going through the family coffers and looking at, I'm pointing to pictures over here of Joey's great grandfather with a classic butterfly boots, classic inlay boots, beautiful, vibrant colors and patterns. And so, as I'm going through this stuff, I thought this stuff is fabulous. There's that. Yeah. I don't know if you've got the other one that's got the butterfly. I don't think there's the butterfly.
Anyway,
Joey, Angie's going to pull it up full screen.
Yeah.
That's a $29 boots.
Yeah, look at the I don't know if you can see the prices because they're probably backwards, but it's like
kind of
$16 and $20.
It's just kind of funny.
But it just, and then that's when we started to get excited, when we realized that and he and I started, I think we opened our bank account with $100 back then because, his parents had their thing going on, and we wanted to make a whole different contribution. We wanted to make a statement that represented who we were and our background and our interests, which was, theatrics and performance and color and wardrobe. And we wanted to get more serious about that and not necessarily just do like production runs, but we wanted to kind of bring back that family quality, that history. His dad and his mom were doing production. They were doing it handmade. At the time, those bigger companies, they were doing more machine made, but they weren't getting the quality. So they kind of married those two items together, and we decided to do something a little bit different. So as the fourth generation, we decided we're a separate entity, and he and I did that. That was our focus, and it has remained our focus. And that's why we wind up working with filmmakers and theaters, companies, and Santas.
Yeah. So, it's funny because we kind of fly under the radar. We don't do a lot of promotion. We don't get a lot of promotion. But the phone just never stops ringing. So, and it's our whole business has been word of mouth. And really, we started advertising like last year again. We hadn't really been doing a lot of advertising, but for the decade before that, we did zero advertising. Maybe I was just posting on Facebook and stuff, but it was not anything.
We've been blessed.
Yeah. And we've had customers that have bought 100 pairs of boots from us. We've had, and they might have another brand here and there, but for the most part, the major part of their collection is our boots, and they turn their friends on to us. And then, like I said, like a Santa Claus thing will happen, or even the Pirates of the Caribbean boots. I don't know. I don't know how many Pirates of boots. We've made a lot of pirate boots for professional pirates all over the world. There's a group up in the Northeast that wears our boots. Every year when they have that Gasparilla in Florida, we just get a ton of orders for that, you know. So, I mean, we make, you know, quality speaks for itself, and it just keeps the phone ringing, you know.
About how many pairs of boots do you make a year?
We make about 15 pairs a week.
It's very
Pretty good.
So you
Now,
do that.
I want to remind everyone who's putting questions out there in the chat that we will answer those questions here in the second half of the show. Angela goes along and puts a star on the ones that that we want to come back and address, but stick with us for that. Now then, you know, let's talk about the trunk shows and the major rock stars, man. That's what I want to hear about. You're being an entertainer and a rocker yourself. Tell us about some of the folks who have bought boots from you guys in the rock industry and MTV.
Well, Bob, before he takes off on that, we need to let everybody know that, speaking of rockers, I think Joey has real hair. You didn't
In my
have-
ears.
You don't have your hair on tonight.
Well, I have my fro game that I put on occasionally.
No, but I'm referring to, he has a big afro he wears in his show. So
That's a picture I didn't share, Joey. So
That's right. Well, you know, it's a cool deal. You know, I wear an afro and bell bottoms and platform shoes and the whole thing. We have a 70s band that we really enjoy being in. We do about 30 shows a year with that. So, and it's kind of funny because
And yes,
even,
we make the platform shoes.
yeah, we make the platform shoes for the band, and that was another story right there. We were playing in Vegas. We got hired to play in Vegas, and at the time you couldn't find men's sizes in platform shoes, and I made platform shoes for the whole band. And so there was a commercial for a place like it was one of those vintage stores, and it was in Vegas. And I went and visited him, and he had the ad during the Super Bowl, and it says, you can't use American Express or something in this car. Anyway, so I went and visited him, and I showed him the platform shoe I had, and he goes, "That's a good platform shoe, but you make this shoe, you make $1 million." And I said, "Can I have that?" He said, "Yeah." And so we
Yeah, it was like a 4-inch.
yeah, I sent it to our factory in Mexico at that time.
1970s
Yeah,
style.
and we sold about $1 million worth of those. You know, it was like
That is
bam.
fun.
We went to the Halloween costume show, and
Well,
that was
there was that era when the platform shoes were big. I remember going to Balboa Park out in San Diego to the discos. And I'm wearing bell-bottom jeans and patent leather and suede leather, big heeled-up shoes. And
Did you save any of your old platform boots?
no, silk cowboy shirts.
well, that's what we wear.
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
remember that.
that.
But we were fortunate. So the Scorpions came to El Paso, and I was a huge Scorpions heavy metal rock fan, you know. And Priscilla and I were,
I could tell.
yeah, we were there. And so my mom, dad, we were young. We must have, how old were we? Like 20, younger, I don't know. And my mom and dad say, "Why don't we go sell boots to the Scorpions? They're in town. You like that kind of music?" And I was like, "Oh, come on. We won't even get past security. That's silly." My dad's like, "Come on, let's go." And so we went backstage. He just walked backstage. You know, back then security was a little bit different than these days.
Yeah.
But you just walk backstage. He says, "I need to talk to the tour manager." And they said, "Oh, go to production." So I, go to production, and I said, "My son," he goes, "Give him my card. My son loves heavy metal, and we make cowboy boots, and we want to sell boots to Scorpions. Who do you talk to?" And they looked, hold on, I'll give him your card. We'll call you if we're interested, okay? So I thought that was the end of it. A couple hours later, my mom's frantically calling, Joey. It's before cell phones, right? Scorpions called. They want you to go sell boots right now. I'm like, what? And it just so happened they'd just come back from Russia when they did that thing at Russia. All the heavy metal bands went, and it was their second show in America, and their publicist just happened to be at that show, and she had a really big mouth, and she loved cowboy boots.
Since it's her job.
And she was like really good friends with Paul Stanley from Kiss, and that was it. I mean, they put our name in this little black book, and every band, every musician, every touring, everything that came to town, they just called us, and we were invited to parties in LA, and then so I'd go to LA, and Paul Stanley would be like, "Look, Joey, I want you to be, I want to be a voice call, okay? Whenever you come to, anytime you come to, just let me know a voice. Don't call anybody else. I'll pick you up. I'll take you to meet everybody, but just make sure I'm your first call.
I saw too where you had mentioned in the history on the history page on your website that at one time the top 10 videos on MTV, all those bands had a pair of your boots. So 10 top videos in a pair of boots.
Yeah, we had that. There was a couple weeks. I mean, for the longest time, for like a year and a half, at least one or two videos had our boots in them. But there was one, and I don't know which week it was, but every single video had our boots in them.
Angela should bring those boots up on full screen.
She did.
Oh, it just flashed for a second.
Yeah. And so those particular boots, we had talked to Gene and Paul about doing a limited series, a run of them, and then selling them on tour. So those actually went on tour with them, and we did like a real limited one for them. And then they were cool. They didn't even charge us anything. They just make each of us a pair of boots. So that's what it costs. Had to make each member a pair of boots to sell as many unlimited amount of boots. So they were really nice. And Paul went to a party with Cher and Richie Sambora, all these actors there, or you get invited to these parties, and if touring musicians aren't on tour or recording an album, they have nothing to do. If actors aren't on set, they have nothing to do, and they just hang out all day. And so they just look for, well, whose house are we hanging out at? And you can go to somebody's house and they're all right there, or their kids are there. I remember Carol Burnett's kids were at a party one time. I was like, oh,
lucky for us, again, it goes through the cycles of what's in fashion, kind of like right now. Cowboy boots are, again, all the rage. And back then, of course, with all the boots and videos and whatnot, and everybody and the fact, again, that we customize for everyone's individual personalities. Of course, everybody wants to have their display and express themselves, which is, it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, we had instances where we were invited backstage to concerts wherever they're touring, whether they're in El Paso or somewhere close to El Paso. And one instance in Austin where the Motley Crue was their Dr. Feelgood tour. And they invited us, and there was a line of about 50 people just queued up to buy boots from us at that show, because all the road crew bought them, the managers, the wardrobe girl and the band. And so it was cool. I remember walking out of there like, oh my God, that was amazing, because, they all give me deposits. And I was like, woo, we're going to be rich. It was a good time.
All right,
and then it just kind of grows from there.
All right. Share with us how the internet has changed not only your name as an acronym, but also, if possible, to other direct to the consumer and the ability to design, create for individuals.
We started, our first website was in 1995. It was like the infancy of the web, of the internet, and eBay was being that I'm triple ADD. Somebody once told me, "Oh, you can't build a business off of eBay." And oh my God, yes I can. My mind oh yes I can. And I ended up trading my truck for a truckload of boots, and that was like the seed money for it. And then the website took a little bit longer before they kind of came along. The website's really about 2002 is when the internet became fast enough for people to order online. And I think we were one of the first companies to really have customized boots on the thing, and we just exploded those years. I mean, now what's changed in it is that they do geolocation for search engines, and so where it used to be somebody looking for custom boots worldwide, we get hits worldwide. And now since the geofencing is I live in wherever, Pittsburgh, where they're going to look in the Pittsburgh area for a custom boot maker before it hits us. And I used to be real good at just kind of making sure we were in the top first page type stuff. But now it's kind of it's changed. I've got some different tricks, and I think we catch the people we want to catch now, but the problem with doing advertising and doing too much advertising on the internet it can get real expensive real quick, and you're just going to get a bunch of tire kickers, you know. So the trick is to get the qualified buyer, and really, you know, there's nothing better than Google. I mean, you can have all those other tricks out there and blah blah blah, but if you don't have a good reputation on Google, you may as well go out of business. I mean, you ain't gonna make it. And then it's just word of mouth, you know, and you just got to make sure that your reputation's clean out there on the boards where people are talking about stuff. You know, I think Facebook is it's a challenge because I don't think it's necessarily a sales driver, but it's something where like somebody hadn't heard about you and they're going to go to Facebook and they're going to make sure you're legit. You know,
there are a lot of collector sites. And that I think that helps us because you know, collectors kind of the same with the Santas. You were talking earlier about how, you know, Santas, when you first kind of get into doing the performance or your community, you start with maybe a costume level, entry level boot, and you can kind of see that in these threads, and then you find people or the people find you in participating with them. You know, that they've gone from the entry level, you know, off the shelf boot to the Lucchese, and now they're ready for, you know, family generation, you know, high end boot, that kind of a thing. But you know, having a presence is important.
No,
technology is, you know, we're getting older too. The technology is kind of, you know, it's fast and furious. So lucky for us, we have, you know, a filmmaker son who's, you know, computer savvy. So he helps.
We haven't really even done anything on TikTok, and everybody's like, you got to do TikTok. I'm like, I don't have time for it. Yeah, other things I want to focus on in life. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. How do you balance all that promotion stuff out? You know, when you still got to, like, you know, you got to make sure the leather's bought and boots are made and they're shipped, and, you know, just the basic dynamics, accounting, everything, the basic business stuff. And then you do your Facebook stuff. That's easy to post. And then Instagram, I still haven't figured it out. I mean, that one still blows me away. Like, how it's a weird posting system. And then there's all these other posting systems. And then TikTok, you're supposed to do these little narrative 10-second, 5-second hits for dopamine, you know, and like, who has time for that? And then, you know, I'm like, hey, let's go to the hot springs. And she's like, well, we got to do a TikTok thing. I'm like, I'm going to hot springs. You know what I mean? you know, let's get in the car, drive somewhere. I don't want to sit behind this computer all day. So it's and our staff is real. It's me, Priscilla. We have a girl, Pax, and we have 5-7 bootmakers that do stuff for us. And
we are officially a mom and pop.
Yeah, it's pretty. You know, I guess I could spend my life in an office trying to get the promotion bigger, but
it'd kill you, Joey. It'd kill you.
Yeah, I know. It's
personality to sit in an office.
It's just too much. There's too much other fun to have in life. So why don't we just focus on quality? Let's just focus on quality in America and having, you know, not having to. Let's get rid of the plastic bottles, okay? And let's get refillable bottles of water, because tap water is good. I don't know. You get me on a tangent here.
One of the things about your
let's just focus on quality, people.
The one thing about your business that we need to stress, it's American made. Made in America. So, but I have something that I want to share with our audience that nobody knows. Joey and you and I talked about this in Gatlinburg, but CABOOTS is now a proud contributor to the TNL network, and we'll be having special promotions in the future. So let's tell everybody kind of what we talked about maybe a little bit. It's not, we'll firm it up, but the thing about it is Joey will actually, for our community, will be getting ads on all 8 shows. So this is going to be his platform for advertising in the Santa Claus world and the Mrs. Claus world. And you do make boots for the elves, Mrs. Claus, and Santa. Am I correct?
And I mean, we just need more feedback on what people want and need, really, because we're pretty flexible in what we can make. I mean, we've made some crazy stuff.
We do. With the elf. They're like the elf ankle boots. We've done those for Disney as well. I think we might, but we did the for the Disney, their theme park, their theatrical Hunchback of Notre Dame. and we've done quite a bit of that. We don't do as many as Santa's, but we certainly can.
Yeah.
Here they are.
Georgetta, here are your new shoes.
It was a little bit beat up and old and kind of lost its.
Yeah, that was a Disney.
It needs
that
one of
was
them
for a
pills.
Disney
It needs to eat one of them pills. But
Well, we lost this libido.
But anyhow, we're so glad, and I think Spangle and Bob and myself and Angela and everybody that's part of the TNL network are grateful that y'all are on board, and we're going to see more of you, and hopefully that Santas will realize the value of your boots.
I appreciate it. We really appreciate you guys giving us this time and attention. You know, we take pride in what we do, you know, and if we ever make a mistake or something, we stand behind our boots. You know, we'll remake the boot. We'll adjust it. Once, if you get something you're like, this isn't what I ordered, and I'll say, okay, what'd you order? I'll send you a label and we'll make it again, because, you know, that's what we just believe in, you know.
Yeah.
And we really appreciate that you guys are doing this for us. We thank you.
Well, one of the other points real quick is that that the reason why you have that guarantee and you stand behind what you make is because you don't make mistakes. You check and double check before they go to.
Sure, I mean, we make mistakes. I mean, you know, we're human.
Not
Okay,
often.
I'm talking to Priscilla here, Joey.
Okay.
Not often. Not often, but we do. I mean, the whole point is, I mean, we're, you know, it is a high end boot, so it's a process, and even the whole thing is more of an experience. So we go from the designing and walking you through, whether we do the measurements for you or we guide you when you do it, because we can send you a tracing sheet and instructions to do it at home. And it's a process. So sometimes it's not even necessarily a mistake, but so I refer to it as, and I was telling the customer that walked in a little while ago, it's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, you know, interpretation of fit. We can do an interview. We do an interview about what you perceive to be comfortable. And it does take some interpretation, you know, even the socks or whatever that you wear when you take the tracing, whether they need any kind of altering, you know, like the wardrobe, you know, you start with an ideal, and then occasionally it may take some tailoring, but to be honest, we're actually very good at fit. And a lot of that comes from that interview so that we can get it right. But we, you know, we'll work with you to get to that place that you want to be.
And that's something we haven't really talked about is fit. And that's a big deal, because a lot of the footwear that you buy, tennis shoes fit you well. They hold your heel in place, right? And you can snug it up and do that, or a lace up boot. But most of the footwear, like boots out there or anything, you know, you just fall into it. And you see people kind of walking around all funny because they're kind of keep their boots on. That's kind of something I noticed anyway. I don't think a lot of people notice it when you see people they got their boots on. If you go into a boot store and you wear a size 8 and you have trouble pulling on that size 8, they're going to give you a size 9 or a size 10. And they don't care. They just want to get you out the door with a pair of boots because they're trying to make a sale, move on to the next guy. But a pair of boots should properly hold your heel in place. And that's a big deal. That's what we do every day. We make sure boots hold your heel in place and give you a proper fit. It's a little bit different of an experience if you've never had that before. You know, sometimes people are like, I don't know if I like this. And they don't always have that voice. Sometimes they say that.
I know personally, if I go to a boot store and try to get something off the shelf, I have such a high arch on the top part of my foot that I can hardly get it into any boots.
Yeah.
Well, and plus, okay, so the boots have pig linings or synthetic linings or whatever on the top. It might not have a calf lining, so it doesn't let your heel slip in place. So even though you have a high instep, the throat should be correct. It should be a little difficult to pull on so it holds your heel in place. And as you wear that boot, the throat will open up a little bit more and get easier to get in and out of. But you should not fall into a boot, you know. Yeah. It should be something that will adjust to your fit and hold your heel in place.
Yeah, and Spangle, I'm the same way. I have a very high instep and a high arch, and I'm like the princess with the P. If something is just a little too tight on the top of that instep, I just can't stand it. So, you know, these are the types of things that we look out for when we talk to, you know, you or anyone when we're getting that fit, because these are things that maybe not apparent when you're just kind of taking measurements or tracings. It's apparent to us in the build, but not, again, what you may perceive to be comfortable. Some people, it doesn't bother me. I'm telling you, I can, if it's just a little too tight on that top of that instep, I can't stand it. So,
but see, it's an all leather boot and we can adjust it. So
yeah.
You get it. Now, first thing I'm going to tell you is wear it for a week.
Yeah.
Just wear it for a week. Or, I have a pair of boots the other day, a little ankle boot I had made for me. And I wasn't wearing it up and I didn't feel like breaking it in. So I got a bottle, not a bottle, a cup of hot water and just poured it in the boot and let it sit there for a couple hours, poured the water out and wore the boots wet, which is crazy, right? But it broke in, because it's an all that it stretched the top part of it and the insole too. And it's like, it molded to my foot. I have a weird fit because, I'm an E to the ball of my foot. So we build out to the ball. My instep's a regular D width, but I'm a size 9 in length, but I don't like any play in my heel. So I do a size 7 throat. So it's kind of really hard to get in my boots for other people. I get it in and out real easy, but I don't like, if I put a size 9 throat on my boots, they would just be sloppy on me. And I hate a sloppy fit. So all my boots have size 7, you know what I mean? So that's another thing that we can accommodate and adjust for people, And even when people come in and say, well, I got a really wide foot, can you make it? Because I'm not saying I'm lying to people, but I'm not saying like, okay, yeah, we got this under control. And I'm never going to make you, even if you say you're a 5E, I'm not going to make you a 5E throat. I'll make you a 5E in the ball and the instep, but the throat's still going to be, because nobody's heel is huge. It's not the heel that's huge. It's your instep and the ball that's huge, And so I'm going to make it so it might be a little bit difficult for you to get in that first time. And if it is, and it's really a pain for you, then we can bounce it back and forth and I'll adjust and open up the throats. It's an all leather boot. We can retree the tops and open up those throats again. But for the most part, I'm going to tell somebody, just try it, wear it for a week, try walking around. And I tell you what, 99% of the time, I don't get that call back of like those boots didn't, and I might, like a year or two later, they'll call back and order another pair of boots and I ask them how they fit. Like, oh yeah, everything you said was right. I didn't believe you at first, but yeah.
And even when if we do need to bring it back, making the effort to wear it, you have more feedback to give us on the fit, so that we don't have to keep doing it if we look for other areas.
Yeah, like that's what I'll say is like, well, if we're going to bounce it back, wear it for a little bit and tell me where else we need to adjust it, and we'll do all those adjustments at once.
So we do the tailoring very similar to a tailor would the rest of the wardrobe.
Well, let's. I think that I'm going to need to get some water. I'm getting a little parched here. Why don't we all grab another water? Take a quick break.
Yeah, don't go away. We've covered a lot. We've got more to cover on the backside of this break. We're going to do our Stuff for Santa commercial, our Showstopper special, and we'll be right back on the other side of that with Priscilla and Joey Sanchez, CABOOTS.
Oh, hello there. Yes, of course, it's me, Santa Claus. Now, you may not believe this, but one of the questions I get asked the most is, well, not how do I do it all in one night? No, but where do I get all my things from? Yes, now, what am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the finest things I have. My glorious gloves, all my knickknacks and trinkets and things. Yes, all the giveaways. Yes, for me to give to the children before the main event. Yes, if I see them in the streets, if they come and see me, I like to have something in my pocket I can treat them with. Yes, and there's one special place where I can find all these magical goods. And that is, of course, StuffForSanta.com. You should head there now and see what magical gifts you can find. Mrs. Claus, have you got my ice pad? Yes, log me on. I'm going to have a look. I shall see you there. StuffForSanta.com. Merry Christmas.
Yay, we got something. All right. Hey, Look here, we're going to do these 30-ounce tumblers, stainless steel. They're normally $35. We're going to do them for $25 and give you free shipping. We have one that says Mrs. Claus. And these ones all come in black. We have Santa Claus. And we have Elf. And they all have a slide closure here. And it really slides nice and tough and makes it feel real good. Got a spot for the straw. And then we also have a red SC one, same kind of lid on it. And then it's going to come with this little straw pack here. It's got a straight straw, a curved straw, and something to clean them straws out with. You got your little straw brush there. Normally $35 plus shipping. We're going to ship it to you for $25. Cup, shipping, everything. So order one, order two, order more if you want to. There we go. All right, let's get on with this trivia here. There's a there's a mall in San Antonio, Texas, with a one-of-a-pair kind of cowboy boots, and were originally displayed in Washington, D.C., and subsequently transported to their present location. All right, guys, let's get with it. There is a mall in San Antonio, Texas, with a one-of-a-kind pair of cowboy boots, and were originally displayed in Washington, D.C., and subsequently transported to the location. I just wonder if they were wearing boots in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, really. So we need the name of the mall, the weight, the height, the length, the width of that pair of cowboy boots. Yeah, I know it's a lot, but that's.
I guess we needed to tell them what we needed for that answer.
Yes, we did.
Well, Joey, don't say anything, but do you have any idea what it is?
Who are you talking to?
Well, you might be contracted when this is over to make a pair of those.
Oh my goodness! All right, so hey, you didn't mention.
I didn't mention those, no.
I also have a little slidey hoochie coochie on the top here. So if you want one of these, you need some TNL swag, reach out to Spangle. All right. Moving on to the second half of the program tonight with our featured guests, Joey and Priscilla Sanchez at CABOOTS or CA Boots, or whatever did the term. How do you do? Just CABOOTS?
CABOOTS.
Got it. I've heard it. CA Boots, CABOOTS, different ways. So, all right, Spangle, over to you, brother.
You should call. We'll answer.
All right. Am I limited to what I can see in your pictures on your website? Also, tell the folks your website and how to contact you.
No, I mean, you can. We have people say, "Hey, can you make this boot?" And I just said, "Well, send me a picture." So that's how, like especially like that Santa Claus.
One that looks like this. I want a heel right here. Can you do this?
But I mean, we since we make everything by hand and we stitch everything by hand, we can. Yeah, sure. Because even if you order the boot off our website exactly like it is, we still cut it and stitch it by hand. So it's not. No sweat off our back.
Yeah, often when you're looking at the website, it gives people ideas. If they don't see what they like exactly, or they see whether it's a Santa boot or any other style of boot or shoe that's on either of the websites, whether it's the wardrobe page or if it's our cowboy boot style, or even the working cowboy boots. We do it all. But you can mix and match from any of and put them together. If somebody wants something, whether it's a color or an inlay, and then they see a heel that they like, and exotic hide if you want. You could even have an exotic hide Santa boot if you wanted.
Be a fancy
you're
alligator.
What would what's the difference between a cowboy boot and a working cowboy boot?
Well, I mean, working cowboy, they call them buckaroo style. And they often have like a spur guard if they want to wear spurs around the ankle. I don't know. If
Well,
you have-
also a spur
Yeah,
heel,
here's-
don't they, Priscilla? A
here's
spur
an
heel
example.
on
I
them?
don't know if you can see that, but there's like this piece of overlaid leather right here. So that's where a spur strap would sit. Sometimes they'll have a double leather sole, and then they tend to prefer, they're taller so that they have protection where in the saddle, against the horse or where they're out in the brush, and they have pull holes rather than a regular pull tab. Joey's doing the
Vanna White on the Vanna White.
He's doing the demonstration there. You might be able to see the spur guard better on this boot. I don't know if you can, but you see
You do
there's
the
that
spur heel as
extra
well. You do the
leather. What's
spur
that?
heel. You do the spur heel also.
Yes,
That has the little
yes,
legs
it
on the
does.
back. Yeah,
You can see there's the spur ledge. Some people call it a spur ridge or a spur ledge, spur shelf. So that's elongated so that when you're wearing the spur, it'll sit there on the spur.
But generally,
I
working
think-
cowboy boot is for the horseman, that's going to be out working cattle and stuff. So, and they use like an oil tan leather.
But well, they like bright colors and sometimes we do their cattle brands or their ranch brands or their initials, their horse's name. I'm telling you, everybody likes to have their own individual flair. They want to express themselves, especially if it's your livelihood or if it's it's your brand. That's logos and brands. I mean, that's really what it all goes back to.
But it's funny because sometimes people will come in the shop, a friend will bring them in and say, it's like, surprise, I'm buying you a custom pair of boots. And they're ill prepared, and they're like, I don't know, there's no way I can, and it's really, everybody kind of has a boot in their brain, whether they want to believe it or not. And so I said, well, what toe do you like? What heel do you like? Well, what color would you get? And how tall would you have it? What kind of stitch do you want? And do you want your name on it? Do you want any design? Before you know it, like in about half an hour, I captured, a pretty good idea of what they want in a boot. And I've had people walk out of here like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Just whittling, you take a block of wood and whittle away what you don't want. Sometimes it's just, a lot of people don't know, or they'll say, well, I kind of like that, but I really don't like that. And I don't like this and I don't like that. And you just kind of, take that idea and whittle away what they don't like and then start working towards what they do like. And then there you go. You start designing.
Yeah.
So I know, it's all custom and that all varies in the price, but is there like a price range typically for like a pair of cowboy boots?
Ours started at $850 for a basic boot, and exotics start at about $1,200 right now. But yeah, for some people they're like, oh, that's a lot of money. But for a custom boot, we're really pretty moderate price.
Yeah, and it is a lot of money. We're not the highest price point. We're high end quality, but we're not the highest price point. But at the same time, it's footwear that not only is it customized to you, but it'll last you a lifetime. We have repeat customers and repeat buyers because they want something different, not because they're in need of a new pair.
Yeah.
Well,
So
can I send you my buckles and you put them on my?
Yes. Yeah, it's because these actually, like these buckles, I put them on today. They actually came with some really basic ones, but it has little snaps in the back here, so you could like pop them off and change out your buckles. So,
Cool.
Yeah, pretty, and you can cut off the straps if you don't want them, whatever. But they're pretty modifiable. Anything you want us to do.
Nice.
We're easy to work with.
All right, Scott. So my next question has actually been answered. So let's just go ahead and jump on to your next one.
Okay, well, let's go to our viewers and see what they have any questions or comments.
We do have some that are starred over here. The very first one was from Mitchell Allen, Santa Allen, said, love their boots. Mine have lasted 10 plus seasons. And I got to say the same thing for Felix. I've seen Felix's boots year in and year out, and they always look brand new every time I see them.
If you take care of your boots, it doesn't take much, but just take care of your boots, kind of shine them up. And I always say it's like changing oil on a car, just use a little maintenance on them. They'll last forever. When I started out, I remember people coming in the shop and say, I bought these boots for your dad 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I was like, whoa, and they looked like they're brand new. Obviously had wear on the sole. But yeah, old school boots that are made properly, they'll last forever.
AJ Bayless said, how much do these boots normally go for? I think you've already answered that around.
Well, you mentioned for the cowboy boot, is the Santa boot pretty much the same pricing?
Yeah, about $850.
All right. Do you have a Claus section on your website, and do you make Mrs. Claus footwear?
You know, we haven't added a Mrs. Claus because I just don't. I mean, we have a lace-up packer that's in. So if you go to our website and go to what is it called? What's that button?
Period reproduction.
Period reproductions. It takes you to the other page of all our costume footwear, and then you can click on Santa stuff. But you know, like I said, it's really.
It would be nice to get feedback.
It's dynamic. So if somebody calls and says, this is a boot that this community needs, then we would, produce it for them, and then it would be on our website. But everything on all our pages is completely modifiable. So that, that maybe that's a boot that the community needs, but it can be customized for everybody. So it's a little bit more individual.
Has anybody said, hey, I want to make these pair of boots, but I don't want them on your website. I want mine and only mine.
Cost you triple.
It's happened.
Yeah, a couple of we've had some people.
A few times.
Yeah.
And we really don't put every single boot, if it's highly customized boot, we really don't put most of those on our website. Most of our boots that are on our website are patterns that we've had or patterns that we've created or made. So, and then they serve as, mentioned before, as inspiration.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people have like a boot or shoe that they just can't find anymore, and it was like their favorite shoe or whatever, and they'll send us a picture like, can you recreate this? And we do. So we've done a lot of that stuff.
Santa Doug says, what is your coolest pair of boots that you've ever made? And you might have showed those earlier. The
Kiss boots. We've made some pretty cool stuff. One time,
those are pretty cool.
Paul Stanley wanted to get Gene Simmons a pair of boots with metallic spiders all over them. And so the boot had cobwebs stitched all over it. And then there was these little spiders, silver spiders attached to them. And I always thought I never got a picture of it.
These are pretty cool. These are actually giant boots. So I don't know if you can see what that is, but Dia de los Muertos are pretty popular nowadays everywhere you go. Well, this is a play off of that, and it's actually Dia de los Mongols, and it's a Dia de los Muertos with afros on them. And Funky Mungle is the name of his band, and then of course it's got your Crocodile Dundee style of big old scales there for alligator boots. But we've also done a lot of the tooling is pretty fun.
I'm kind of more into the inlay type work where I don't know if I got a really good example here, but.
But yeah, we've done all kinds of fun.
Too bad they y'all make cookie cutter boots.
Yeah, no. So like more of like the inlay type stuff where they have to stitched and do every layer of the leather. I'm more of a fan of that stuff, and I think that's. I think tool boots are cool and all, but there's more. It takes more disciplines to be able to do an inlay boot.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we know that you just make cookie cutter boots. We've seen them all. One step at a time.
Yeah. No. I mean, we try.
Custom. They're very custom.
Even the stuff that's like, because there are some boots that people like this particular boot, a bluebird boot
The classic.
That's classic, and it is kind of a cookie cutter boot. But even at that, it's customized to your fit. And then I have some people that change the color on the vamp, or they do little modifications. They'll get initials here instead of the flowers.
I was being sarcastic. There's nothing cookie cutter about it.
I know, but I'm just saying, even the stuff that's common or that gets repeatedly ordered as it is photographed, it still has some modification to it.
David Renown wants to know, not to get off topic, but you make snakeskin boots?
Yeah. Snakeskin, what kind? What kind you want? You want rattlesnake?
Sure do.
We got her. Look at these beautiful rattlesnake skins we get from this gentleman in Kansas City. Yeah, we got some here somewhere. Yeah, this is a python back belly. They call this belly cut. And then they have the other ones with belly. I mean, yeah, sure, we can. There's a section on the website for exotic boots, and we pretty much do every exotic.
I got some python meat in the refrigerator right now.
Ew.
Yeah. Yeah. We had about a 5-foot snake out in the yard today.
Oh. Yeah, but yeah, we do everything as long as it's legal.
Well, Santa Doug also asked, will there be a 5th generation of family business?
Well, let me answer this one, Joey, because Joey always answers that one. We get that question a lot, and he says no because our kids are smart and they went off to college and they're doing cool stuff. But I would like to think that at some point they might be. Our filmmaker son, he has a flair for fashion. Of course, he also is part of the performance and expression and artistic. And he loves shoes and he loves fashion. So I think at some point it's possible. We haven't totally decided yet. And we have a nephew as well that 2 nephews that are, kind of have always worked with us or in some form or fashion. So there may be, I'd like to think that we will go on.
But we'll be here for a while.
Yeah.
Joseph Cunningham said, gonna need to give me a pair of these fine boots for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna make boots till the day we die. So
hopefully that won't be soon.
Yeah.
He goes on to say, besides the size and custom design information, what other info do you need for a proper sizing?
We have a form we send you. I can text it to you or email it to you if you reach out to us. Probably 90% of the stuff I sell is through text right now anyway. So I text you a form and it's real simple. You just trace your foot and give us the 3 or 4 measurements.
You just make sure you have someone else trace your foot. Don't trace your own foot. And it's all illustration. And if there's, I like to ask a question. If there's, what's your average size? Depending on how that's answered, that gives us a clue. Some people will say, oh, it's a 9, and and if you say it's between an 8 and a 10, well, that gives us information right there. So that will tell us. So pay attention. Does your size ever vary? And does it change depending on the type of footwear? So if it's different for a dress shoe versus a tennis shoe versus a boot, that information is helpful as well. And then we can give you a call back based on what we get.
Yeah.
And if you stay tuned to TNL and watch the different shows, and CABOOTS ad will have a listing on it of where in the Santa community where they may be showing up, and you can meet them directly and get measured right there at the site at the school or the convention that they're at. So stay tuned, watch their ad on our network, and you'll see where they will be appearing in different places.
Yeah, but you forgot one part, Scott.
What?
You forgot one part. Please bring clean feet, clean socks.
Clean socks. That's what else we need.
Well,
Thank you.
My feet.
Hey, it's true though. We've had cowboys. So get back to the working cowboys. Those cattle guys, sometimes they would send their boots in to get rehealed and sold, and they wouldn't bother to scrape them at the boot scraper. And you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised at the stuff we'd get in the mail. Thank you. No, don't do that.
And Melissa Santa Mel said, Spangle, you need another pair of red, white, and blue ones. So Joey and Priscilla, Spangle needs to place an order with you, PDQ.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Yeah. You don't know that he's getting a commission for that,
right? Well, we're looking at dates, and hopefully we can make it up to. I don't know if there's still space available there in Branson, but we're interested in going up there too. And we just had so much fun in Gatlinburg. It was like, yeah, we could do this. We could hang.
Wait till you go to Branson. Oh my God.
Yeah, Branson's a party.
It's crazy.
Well, when we were young, we used to go to the Halloween and costume show in Chicago. And that was always a blast. I mean, I love doing that show. So it's kind of like it, but just really focused on Santa Claus, obviously.
I think we have some hall space available, but it's not really a booth space. You know, it's a table against the wall, and you kind of stand there or sit next to it or something like that.
We're easy.
Yeah.
Joey can do his best man of white.
That's right.
Show off the picture, show off a pair or two of boots.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need a lot of space really to show what we do.
Yeah.
And I mean, the interesting thing about it is, you know, the kind of the quality and the boots speak for themselves, and anybody that's like kind of has a knowledge of like what quality footwear is, when they walk by and they see it, they wait a second, what's this? You know, and they pick it up and look at it like, oh wow, yeah. You know, so it sells itself. You know, so we don't need a lot of space for what we do.
Yeah, we want to say, you know, not to change subject, but we also want to thank another one of our contributors that are here. We want to thank Larry Talbert and Talbert Insurance.
There.
Hey, you know what else we need to do, Spike? We need to reveal tonight's trivia answers also and see what winners we have, right?
Oh, we might want to do that.
Okay, so boot trivia, schoolofsantas.com, which was our first trivia. Your name goes in a hat for the School of Santas and for North Pole Cornerstones for the scholarships. The shaft, which is the tube that rises from the base and covers the leg, was designed to prevent injuries from what? And Priscilla kind of mentioned this a moment ago. Two major answers was looking for: keep it from catching cactus or sharp brush, and also the leg rubbing against the saddle when riding a horse. That's for the taller shank, right, Priscilla? And our winner is Angela?
Jeff Olette.
Jeff Olette wins that one. Congratulations, Jeff. Name goes in a hat. Great job, brother. Now to stuffforsanta.com. There's a mall in San Antonio, Texas, with one-of-a-kind pair of cowboy boots, and were originally displayed in Washington, D.C., and subsequently transported to their present location. We was looking for the name of the mall, North Star Mall. Happen to know the Santa that works there, a fine Santa, good friend of mine. They weigh 10,000 pounds. That's correct. I had a typo there, Spangle. So it's 10,000 is the correct answer there. They are over 35 feet tall, and they are over 30 feet in length and 9 feet wide. Winner?
Kane Smith.
Kane Smith gets that one. Hey, Kane, you're on a roll, man. You've got some. You got to look out because Mr. Trivia is going to get upset with you.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering how they transported them.
Well, surely they had to have a crane and a flatbed float truck, more than likely.
Well, I mean, if it's 35 feet tall and 30 feet wide,
they're big. Did you go look at the pictures?
No,
Joey, I brought those to you. Could you stretch them out for my foot?
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, congratulations to our winners tonight. Good job, guys. And, hey, Kane, by the way, I just want to mention it was great seeing you in Gatlinburg, finally getting to meet you, and thoroughly enjoyed our chat and our time together. All right. We're ready to close out the show here. We're getting towards the end. Spangle, what's your closing thoughts tonight? You have any?
The whole time while I've been watching this, and you know, when I go into the leather shop here in town and stuff, you walk in and you just smell that, and I was thinking the whole time, how cool would it be to walk in their shop and smell those aromas and everything? And then when they started talking about those cowboy boots they get back, I'm thinking, well, maybe I don't want to walk in there.
That's funny.
Just on a good day.
But you know, there's just something about that leather, and you know, there's certain places that you can go into. You know, you can go into a leather place and you got them leather. You can go into a motorcycle shop. You can smell that grease, that rubber, or whatever it is. There's just certain smells at different places that's like, wow, that's cool.
You wouldn't want to walk in after a cow patty stomper had been there.
We don't let them in the front of the shop.
Some people might like it. I don't know.
Big, quiet, messy. All right. So, Scott, you got any final thoughts tonight, man?
Well, my biggest thing is that I am just so tickled that you guys jumped out here and came on the show tonight. I loved visiting with you in Gatlinburg, and you were so full of information and education to teach us what to look for and what not to look for, and informed all our viewers exactly where they need to go to find a quality pair of boots that's comfortable and will last you a lifetime. So thank you for that. And
I want to thank Elizabeth Bruce for dragging Joey out of, and Priscilla out of El Paso and into Gatlinburg. So we all have had the opportunity to finally meet them in person.
That was fun.
Thank you guys so much for coming on tonight.
But we look forward to meeting everybody again in the future and doing it again and again. It's fun.
All right, so my final thoughts is a little more deep in thought. I do that sometimes. Looking back on when I first embarked on the character of Santa, I had no idea where to even start looking for gigs, get the answers I was seeking about being Santa or even the business of being Santa. Then the next big hurdle was finding the products and wardrobe for my endeavor. Most of us are on a budget, so we spend what we can and upgrade later. But if I could give a new clause starting today some sound advice, cheap won't even get you started. You're better off going ahead and investing in a quality pair of boots and belt. Those are two of the most important items that you will upgrade first, and it will last you for many years to come. So many of us make that mistake of buying that $60 boot. My $60 pair of boots lasted me one season, and the whole platform just disintegrated on it. And so that's when I got to searching and went out and found a decent pair, which I still have, but I need a new pair. I'll be talking to you, Joey. Believe me. Go see Joey and Priscilla at CABOOTS and save yourself some time and money and get those quality boots from the very beginning. Your feet and legs will thank you, and your pocketbook will go further without wasting those dollars.
Can we get one more comment real quick?
Yeah, what is it?
It's from Santa on a Motorcycle, Rick Fields.
Rick Fields, Santa on a Motorcycle over on YouTube wants to know, I have a custom red leather motorcycle jacket. Can you make me a pair of boots to match?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Not just yes, but hell yes.
That's right.
All right. Join us next week for our next episode of the TNL show at 7 p.m. Central and 8 p.m. Eastern.
Don't forget to watch all the TNL Network Productions 2025 list of shows.
Yeah, catch Bob and Phoenix Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time.
Tomorrow night is the ever-popular Kringle Brothers with content you won't want to miss. Kringle Time starts 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, streaming on YouTube and Facebook, powered by TNL Productions.
Yeah, join Santa Mel on Thursdays, 8 p.m. or 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern on Santa's Magical Fellowship.
That's correct. And programming note here, Mel will have a new show coming on Thursday night to follow hers to fill in for the show that's moving. TNL Network Productions announces starting this next Monday, April 21st, 2025, the Claus Connection, Empowering the North Pole with Sean White will be moving. And now we'll be seen live on the TNL StreamYard platform and Facebook and YouTube channels at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern. Mark your calendar, set your alarm, and join the Claus Connect next Monday at 6 p.m. produced by TNL and Angela Mack, by the way.
Tune in, kick up your heels, join the fun for 2025, all powered by TNL Network Productions.
I want to give a big thank you to schoolofsantas.com, stuffforsanta.com, Spiegel's two products, Talbot Insurance Services, NorthPoleCornerstones.com, SantaNana.com, NationwideSantas.com, and CABOOTS.com. Tell everyone good night, Spangle.
Good night, Spangle.
How about you, Scott? You got a good night?
Good night, Scott. Remember to join us next week, Tuesday Night Live, each week, 7 p.m. Same Claus time, same Claus channel.
Count your blessings, not your sorrows. May your troubles be small and your blessings be large. Have a blessed week. On behalf of the whole TNL production crew, I'm Santa Bob McMaster saying good night. Remember, always let your Claus heart shine bright. Never stop learning. Hope to see you back here on Monday and on Tuesday. Remember, Joey and Priscilla, stay put. We'll talk more in the green room. Good night, all. Happy closing.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter.
Oh, happy everything and Merry Christmas.